neither do I, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, our audience expects us not to know anything about it.
I thought so. Audience, of course, as you know, we're talking about what else? The Coronation. I really thought it was because they just gave everybody Corona beer. I thought that's what it was.
That's a good thought. Not even remotely close to a coronation, but hey, you know, to each their own.
Well,
to each their own. Yeah.
Oh, wait now. Would it be to each their own or to each his own? Because each is singular.
Well, now it's going to be their own because, I mean, John first said, hey, let's talk about nothing political, but now he rolled right up into that one.
I did, didn't I? And I don't care.
Yeah.
And so anyone who's saying, well, the PoddiMouths, they are not politically correct. That's right. That's how we do things here.
Yep.
Politically incorrect.
That's how we roll.
So suck it up.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a kind, tender way. Very happy to have our audience.
Suck it. Yes, very happy. Well, so that brings up I know he was obviously not the person who did it, but I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast with Ric Flair on it. And first of all, I don't know if he's originally from Minnesota. I didn't look it up, but I know he played for the University of Minnesota. He played football. So he has a Minnesota connection there. But it was an interesting conversation because he is a prolific character when it comes to pro wrestling. And I'm not a pro wrestling fan, so I know very little about it. But I do remember being taken to these pro wrestling events when I was growing up. Because
really?
My dad was
you
a big
went to
wrestling
them?
fan, and
you went to the live
a friend
ones?
who was a ref. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because they would have them. I mean, back in the 80s, they'd have them in high school gyms. I mean, it wasn't these big arena events that they are now.
Yep.
And they had so many different, let's call them factions, but they were basically different marketing companies that put these on, and they all had their own region. And he was talking a little bit about that and a little bit about the history of the whole organization, the whole industry, and how it grew. So it was an interesting conversation. But, you know, here's the interesting thing I found about Ric Flair is he lived his character. He really was. He really enjoyed that side of his character. Yeah. He definitely lived it up, but as did most of the wrestlers, not living up their characters, but lived up his character. They were all mini Ric Flairs, I guess.
Interesting.
That wasn't where I was going with this conversation whatsoever.
But let's stay there for a second because I have some fun memories of the pro wrestling and mine 20 years before yours. This is back when I was just a kid. We had 3 channels on the television. That's all we had to choose from. One, I may be misspeaking, we may have had 4. One was Rockford, Illinois, and that was pro wrestling, Channel 13, pro wrestling on Sundays after church. So we would come home from church as a family and watch All-Star Wrestling on Channel 13 and then replicate it with my brothers.
Of course.
Of course. I mean, the place was we didn't have a lot of money growing up. It was kind of fun to go back and think it over. But we had one of those really scratchy couches 20 years before you. They were terrible, but we broke the legs so many times fighting that they had like a tobacco can underneath one of the legs.
Nice.
It wouldn't last because we were wrestling and it was Sunday after church, which, great fun. Yeah. But I still remember.
Hopefully you got out of your Sunday best.
Yeah. Sometimes we made it, but not always. Sometimes it was, and then the yelling started and, so then we did have to change, but oh my gosh, some funny stuff. My older brother putting me in a figure 4 leg lock for the first time. That was, nice. And but there were the personalities back then, Billy Robinson and the Crusher and Baron von Raschke and all of those people. And it was just fun. And now you see where it's gone and it's a totally different thing. But, John Cena. He does this thing and it just kills me. Some of it is, oh my gosh, it's just hilarious.
It's way over the top.
Talking stories. It is, but it's still fun. And, if you go at it with the right mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's entertainment. They even call it entertainment now. It's not even, I don't even, how did he say it? It is athletic and there is an athletic component to it, but
For sure.
I think they stopped calling it pro wrestling. Maybe that was it. They stopped calling it pro wrestling and started calling it entertainment or something. I don't remember. But if you get a chance, folks, I'm not, advocating for someone to watch such a low level podcast like, Joe Rogan. I mean, I hope someday he has as many listeners as we have. But I do want to support people that are just starting out. So if you get a chance, go over and listen to the Joe Rogan Experience and listen to the Ric Flair. It's interesting. It's going to give you a whole, both positive and negative view of this gentleman. So,
it's funny that you say that.
That's my story for today.
It used to be they would fight a lot about, no, it's wrestling and it's real and it's not fake. And at some point they go, well, it's a little fake. And now it's entertainment. But you cannot deny the athletic component. You're right about it. I mean, they are athletes.
Oh, absolutely not.
Are really in great shape. And if you're going to dive off the third rope and into the row of seats or whatever, it's going to, it takes some athleticism.
Yeah. And they're not just, he was talking about having to do matches that lasted an hour and doing that 6 days a week. So 6 hours a week doing full out. I mean, that's hard work. It's not easy. Sure. It's like playing football without a whistle for the entire game and then doing that 6 days a week. You would die.
Yes, no doubt.
And a lot of these guys do. I mean, and I don't mean die, just their bodies are falling apart. But
yes,
but even The Rock, The Rock.
Yep.
Yeah, the Rock's dad. So The Rock came from wrestling royalty because his dad was a wrestler. And actually something posted, I don't know if it was on the news or if it was on one of my socials, but there was a picture of The Rock as a kid sitting in the audience watching his dad wrestle, which was pretty cool.
They called him the Pebble. They called him the Pebble back then.
Yeah, exactly. That was his name back then, the Pebble. Yes. That's going to make the name.
Excellent.
If I remember, I don't have anything to write that down on.
Hey, I sent you an email. I don't know if you got it or not, but about my advertising campaign for PoddiMouths. Did you happen to see that? You're checking your email right now.
No. When did you send it?
Yesterday. One of the guys that I follow on YouTube is I can't think of his name right now. Steve Wallace, and he's funny. Okay. He does stealth camping. And I know I've told you about him before. Hilarious guy, Canadian dude, and just has such a good following. And sadly, his wife passed away last year and just really shattered him. But, he's got such good support, over 1 million followers. And anyway, it's oh, wow. He has a beer fund. And whatever it is, he uses the money for something, probably puts in his pocket. I hope so. And you donate $10 or something and you get your name on the screen. He rolls the donations at some point during his videos. So we got PoddiMouths.com for $10 on a 300 and some thousand views. So we're going to be wealthy. Oh, wow. Any of you viewers from Steve's who happen to be tuning in for the first time, welcome. We're glad you're here. And Steve is just a cool guy, and I've never met him, but I follow all his stuff, and it's just kind of a fun way to get your name out there.
That is a fun way. Well, the last message I have from you, last email I have from you, came on 1/30/2023.
Okay, well, maybe it didn't go, but anyway, it could be because of my wonderful Wi-Fi connection.
It could be, or I don't think I'm pretty good about deleting my deleted. So you delete and then you actually go and empty your deleted inbox.
Yep.
I'm pretty good about it, but I don't think I deleted it yesterday. So I should have still had it in there.
Yeah, I'll resend it. I would do it right now, but I don't think we can handle the bandwidth needs for me to open
Probably
my email
not.
while we're doing a PoddiMouths podcast.
Which is, it's funny because
Elon
you're
to save me. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, he's starting to cut things back, I think. But you say that it's funny because you can't even move without worrying about your internet. And I'm sitting down here. I'm in the dining room today. I'm not in my office
Yes.
again, like last week. And that's because my office is still trashed. But you're doing that. Peyton is up watching YouTube, which is a bandwidth sucker, and I've
Yep.
got another computer over there running stuff on the internet, and I'm fine.
Shut
I'm just
up.
showing off now because I'm an
Yeah,
asshole.
I
But
know. I know. Just enjoy that while you can. Someday soon, I'm going to have
oh,
my
I will.
my Skylink or whatever it's called, Starlink or whatever it's called, that is going to save me
It's a
because,
link.
and I'm sure it is. It's a Lincoln Town Car actually, and hopefully that will give me better Wi-Fi access. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez,
I don't know
it's
if
a
I'm
joke.
as big a fan of the town car as I am of the Continental. I really
I
like the
like them
Lincoln
both.
Continental.
I like them
The
both.
old
The
ones, like the
Continental, yeah, the
90s.
60. Oh, I like the 60s, 64. They used to have a convertible
Oh, yeah.
with the four-door and the
Yep.
suicide doors. Oh my
And the
gosh.
suicide doors in the back. The same thing that
Would
President Kennedy was shot in.
yes. Yes, that was a 60. That must have been a 62 because he was shot in 63, as I recall, December of
I
63.
thought it was 64, but you're probably
Dealey
right. I mean, you were,
Dealey
but you were
Plaza.
alive back then,
I
so
was not
I've
for
been to
long,
Dealey
but yeah.
Plaza recently.
Yeah.
Not for very but you
Recently.
remember sitting up and watching it, right? Sitting up.
Yes.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
there recently.
Very.
Well, within the last year, I was at. I decided I was waiting for a meeting, and I had like an hour to kill from when my flight landed to when the meeting started. So I drove down into downtown because as many times as I've been to Dallas, I had never been to Dealey Plaza. So
Mm-hmm.
I drove around. I never got out, but I drove around it. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
was a cool thing to see. I
It's
would highly
interesting, and it
recommend if
was
you had a chance even to pull
yeah,
over and get out. But it was
yeah.
I was
Of
an
course,
interesting place.
we've all watched the replay many, many times, and if you're at all interested in that sort of stuff, and it's spooky. The whole thing is, and I mean, it's not something you want to ever relive or anything. But man,
Right.
it was just a it was a you watch a guy like Walter Cronkite, who back then was the man for evening news. I mean, there were a couple other people, but he was the one. And man, to see him choke up throughout the whole thing was that was quite a thing. And so anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a weird place, and it's odd that not odd. It's interesting that he is associated with that car as he should be probably, in perpetuity. So pretty
Yeah.
cool, beautiful car, no question. But that convertible with a four-door, it's just not a body style that I mean, nobody else did it that I can think of off the top of my head.
No, I don't think so. And, you know, the interesting thing I find is a lot of the car companies have been trying to do it lately is making those old styles and remodeling them to make them the more modern style. And I think a lot of times they just fall flat on their face. I mean, it is so ugly. Um, Sometimes they do succeed and make a really kick-ass car, but Lincoln is one of them. I think they just like I'm like, guys, no, don't. You're trying way too hard. There's a point where you're trying, and that's cool, but then there's a point where it's way too much. And the recent release of some of these new Lincolns, like, no, they're so ugly. I'm sorry,
Are
they're
they?
ugly.
I haven't really even noticed. And I find myself not maybe paying as much close attention to some of the new things, but even to your point, even like the Camaro, I saw Camaro the other day, and look, you can make an argument for the Camaro that it's a great remake of the pony car, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. Same with the Mustang. But look what they've done to them. It's like they chopped them. And the
Yeah,
windows on the side are like, I mean, you can't even see out the damn windows or windshield even
yeah,
because it's such a rake. And for someone tall, it's just tough to see out. And that was the same thing they said about the Hummers, the H2 and the H3. They had such tiny side windows that you could scarcely see out of them, and so you didn't have a great field of vision in those, which again for a big vehicle like the H2, that was kind of a shock. You think you'd be able to see everything.
yeah. 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 It's amazing. I think, you know what, let's just focus on not, excuse me, not recreating the wheel per se, pun intended, and start focusing on making kick-ass cars. You know, I don't think now examples of remakes that I think they've done well, and this is me wearing a Jeep hat about to say this. Are you
Yes.
ready?
Yes.
I think they did a fantastic job with the Bronco. I really do. I think it looks very, very cool, and they really captured what it used to look like and molded it to something new. Um, so you know, I'll give credit where credit is due. That's one that I think they did a good job with. Now the
They
Bronco
certainly
two,
did.
no sir, mm-mm.
Yeah, they certainly did a
Or
lot of
the what do they call
research.
those?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Bronco 2, what?
Well,
I
it
mean,
used to be
that
the
used to be
Bronco
one
two.
of
Now
them.
they're the Bronco Sport. Yeah,
Oh, is
now I
that
think
what
it's
it
the
is?
Bronco Sport. Yeah, the little
Yeah,
one.
I haven't seen that, I guess. Again, not being really in the industry as much as I have been, I'm I will confess I'm not keeping up with the new models as much as I normally would. I did see a Bronco on the way home today, this morning, and it was yeah, it looked pretty cool. It was a good looking vehicle, and it had the LCD bar, LED bar, all the way across the front, and it was kind of cool looking. So yeah, I agree with you. I
Yeah.
think they did a good job and certainly spent time on it. One of the things that Ford has done, we both have raspy voices today, apparently. One of the things that Ford has done,
I haven't had
and
enough
some,
water.
yeah, it's probably me too. Some other manufacturers as well, they they do these deposits online. Have you seen some of those? That was what they did with the Bronco.
Oh
They
yeah.
also did it with some other trucks. And
Yeah.
they go, "Oh yeah, $100 and you can reserve it." And then they're bragging about how the pre-sales are so high. They haven't delivered a single vehicle, or hadn't when they were talking about that.
Yeah.
And you know that
Yeah.
$100 does not mean it's a done deal. It means somebody put down a deposit
Right.
for $100. And so anyway, it's kind of a scammy way
Well,
to mess with your numbers.
yeah. Well, you know what this I know they've done it before Tesla, but Tesla did that and still does that for as far as I know with all of their cars, starting with the Roadster, and going to the very first sedan and all the way up to the cars today. They have people order them well ahead. And that's what they did. That's what they used to fund the construction of the cars.
Correct.
And if you get a chance to read some of the books about Tesla, I don't, it's upstairs. It's not upstairs. It's down here now because I'm down here and I moved my bookshelf. But in a minute, while John's talking about something, I'll go and run and get the book. But there's a great book that talks about Tesla from day one all the way to today and all of the struggles that they go through. So I'm actually I'm having Jen read the book, not because I think she'd be interested in Tesla, but about how they had to bootstrap and how they were almost ready to close, like a day away from closing, and then something good happened and they were able to push forward, and they just keep pushing forward, pushing forward, pushing forward. And it's a great story for anyone who's an entrepreneur who wants to really get in the mindset of it's never life or death, but it's definitely stressful. And it gets you into that mindset of, you know, there are people that do this every single day and they succeed, and you can do it if you believe in it and don't give up.
Absolutely right. And he's done the same, kind of the same model that he's used for Starlink. And I know because I have a
Yep.
$99 deposit with him, and I still can't get Starlink at my house. So
Right.
but that's how they started it, and that's how they brought people in. Now that's a little different story because it's not a $40,000 automobile that he's trying to close you on with $100 deposit. It's a $99 deposit,
No,
and
it's
then $300 worth of equipment, and $120 a month after that. So
right.
yeah, it's a
Right.
little different story.
Yeah. Well, and he wasn't having people put $100 down. He was having people were putting thousands of dollars down. The Roadster, there were people that were putting $100,000
Oh wow.
down for this
Wow.
car.
Yeah,
That
well,
wasn't even the full pop of the MSRP on this thing.
those would probably be the
So
serious
yeah,
people.
I mean,
You could guess that they're the serious ones.
those are those are definitely the serious ones. Yeah,
Yes.
but even on the $100,000 Tesla, you know, they were putting $10,000 down. on this car, and the car hadn't even at one point they had several hundred people put $10,000 down on a car that hadn't even been proven yet. They hadn't even built one. They hadn't even modeled it yet. They're just saying, "Hey, we're going to do this car. You want in?" Yep. And people were shelling out the money, saying, "Yeah, I want to be the first one. Here's $100,000 or $10,000 rather." Mm-hmm. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yep. No doubt. And it's look, anybody, as you said, anyone can do this. It's just a matter of, can you make the case, and are there enough people? It's no different than finding investors, because that's essentially right. what they are at that stage of the game. So you've got venture capitalists who are saying, "Yeah, I want to be in," and many of them, probably most of them, can afford to lose it, so they don't care. Other than right. It can make me wealthy, which for some they did very well because. The stock price went crazy, and so those folks who got in early, it was a real opportunity for them.
And there was they had one they mentioned in the book who was a brand ambassador for them at one point because she had pre-ordered so many cars. She had pre-ordered a Roadster. She had pre-ordered a what was the first one? A Model S? No.
Sam.
What was the first one?
Wasn't it? I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't want to say it like I'm not a Tesla fan. I am a Tesla fan, but I don't know their cars very well because I'm not, I don't know. They don't excite me as much as they excite other people.
Sure. And I'm kind of the same way. And they're in the news right now too, because Steve Wozniak from one of the Apple originators, right? Yep. Apple. Yeah, he made a claim about it. He was also one of the first Tesla adapters. He
was.
Yeah, he was talking about the auto drive feature and what a piece of crap it was and has been since the first one. And so he was just hammering on Musk for himself, but also on the whole Tesla auto drive functionality, how bad it was.
But I look at that and go, Woz is a certified genius. So is Elon Musk. If anyone can talk about that and talk about it with some good credentials behind him, it would be Woz. And Woz is also speaking out right now about AI, along with Elon Musk, even though Elon is doing his own AI thing, about trying to make sure that we do it right. It's like, slow down, let's pump the brakes a little bit. And Woz and Musk are both two of the leading people when they're discussing that. So if anyone could criticize Elon Musk, if anyone could, and I bet you, in my humble opinion, that Elon would actually listen, it would be Steve Wozniak.
And maybe he will listen, or maybe he is. It was also under the umbrella of AI and talking about how AI impacts the Tesla, with auto drive. That's essentially what it is. It's AI, and so he was talking a little bit about that. I don't know what was behind it, if anything, other than the fact that you do have to pump the brakes, and they are both saying that together. I mean, they both agree that AI you need to pump the brakes, because sadly what happens, just even in ChatGPT, you can see it, that you get people's mindsets that are programmed into that. And so there are certain things it won't do because of someone's talking points, if you will. And so that's a problem. Right. That is not honest AI. And that's just taking someone's political level to the next level.
Yeah, and it's even more simple than that too. It's moving too fast. We don't understand. The people that are programming it don't understand it enough. And this is coming. So I think I may have mentioned before, I'm doing a presentation next week, part of which revolves around AI. And my partner who I'm doing this with, he and I started working on this several weeks ago, and we have had to change our AI portion probably 3 times, and we'll probably have to change it another time before we actually present about it, because it's changing that fast.
Wow.
And I don't think it for the sake of people who are going to I'm going to say this. I don't necessarily believe it because I have a different opinion on what it's going to do. But for those people who are worried that they're going to lose their jobs because of AI, and that is a concern. I understand that. I am of the belief that we need to embrace it to enhance our careers. I don't think it's really going to cost. It will probably cost people jobs. It probably will. But if you learn it, you'll be able to move into another job very, very quickly that augments AI. I think this is going to be a huge new industry that people can start working for. The problem is we can't learn it fast enough. Yeah. There are people, I mean, I have been working really hard to try to learn about it, but I start listening to people and I'm like, how do you even know that much stuff about it? I can't find that information anywhere. I can't learn it fast enough. And that's the problem. And that's why I think we need to pump the brakes so we get truly educated about all of the systems behind AI, so we can have people that know it inside and out, that can I'm going to say control, but it's not, what was that? What was the Terminator, the company in Terminator that caused all of the robots or made all the robots?
Yes, I don't know, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't foresee that happening, but we do need to be careful that we don't, do anything like that.
Well, no, because there's so many things that it does now and will touch, and that's why it's the biggest concern. And you're right on. I think it's smart of you to look at it that way, embrace it, as opposed to just, hide from it, because it is going to be part of what look where we were 30 years ago and look where we are today, just in general terms. And you can see just the impact of technology in general, and certainly AI much more specifically.
Yeah. Well, and for as fast as we have to do things today as marketers, as fast as we have to churn content, this is going to be a lifesaver for a lot of us. I can pump out a deck now in a day. That's something that might take me 3 days normally. Same with content ideas. To stay relevant on social media, for example, you have to be consistent. You have to constantly pump out content. Well, if you're doing that, and then you're also building decks, and you're also presenting, and you start losing time in your day. There's not enough time to do everything. And that's where AI can really help. It'll allow us to be able to complete, or at least set up, a lot of these things. I did the same thing for Jen. She's struggling trying to find content to publish on socials about her business on a consistent basis, because she's so busy doing, that poor girl gets up at 5 a.m. and she's working until she gets home at 7 p.m. That typical entrepreneur, but it's constant. And then of course you lump stuff like that on top. So I showed her inside of Canva, and Canva has an AI feature in there. I said, here, tell Canva to do this for you. And boom, it popped out 10 different posts for her. And she's like, nice. I have 10 posts now I don't have to worry about it. I just have to get a picture and put it up with this, and I'm done. This is genius. I'm like, that's exactly it. And the nice thing about Canva is you get all of that, you put it together, and you can schedule them. So now she's only spending 20 minutes once a week to schedule all her posts for the week. Nice. It's a huge time saver for a lot of people.
For sure. And I've used it on Canva on a much lower level because I don't need to do the posts and so on, but for creative stuff. Yeah. So it sounds like we're doing an ad for Canva, which we might be, but it's a great, great system. No, not yet. They'll call us soon. I'm sure. It is.
Maybe they'll help us with the delay. So, and because of the delay, I do want to call it out. I think John and I have been doing a very good job with combating this delay. But as you hear the playback, you'll hear there's a space between when we both speak. It's because the system that we have, as we were talking about the internet earlier, the system that we have is the longer we record, the more the gap between our voices becomes, the larger that gap becomes. So I am going to call it at this point. We're almost 30 minutes in, so I think it's probably a good place to stop. Otherwise, that gap is going to be so massive. I'm going to stop talking, and it's going to be 10 seconds, 20 seconds before John actually responds to me, which is probably not a good thing. So
they just think I'm slow.
And also I have to take Peyton to go ride horses. You are slow,
They just think
John.
I'm slow.
Very, very slow. Yeah. See the delay? You like that? I was measured in my response. Anyway, folks, head up to PoddiMouths.com. Wow, I could actually see spit flying out of my mouth. I was so excited about this. Go up to PoddiMouths.com, join the newsletter, check out all our social media that we never post on except for the day that this airs. We will, once we figure out this technology thing, guys, we will get back into Fast Friday. That's one of the reasons we haven't been doing it. It's just an excuse, I know, but we will start doing those Fast Fridays because I really enjoy them. I think they're fun, and it's just another piece of content. But you can see some of the Fast Fridays that we've done in the past. They're on YouTube. They're on Facebook. They're on, they're not on Instagram, but you can link to them from Instagram. So, that's what you can do at PoddiMouths.com. Anything else, John? Anything to add other than a see ya?
Just to see ya. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.